Welcome to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast, where insights, attitudes, and methods for success get illuminated. Learn what leaders and change workers have done and are doing now to create magnificent futures. We interview great guests who inspire you to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. Be sure you visit our website at self-helpcoaching.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, just relax as you listen. You can do something else, but be ready to make an important note. And let's get started.
The title of this interview is TranceFigure Festivities, Hypnosis Events for the Unconscious Mind. Now, there's a lot of new things going on in the industry, and we'll share those things with our listeners and viewers. And some of those things will be the transition to life coaching in the virtual world and fun ways to approach change work through hypnosis, among other things. And we really have a special guest here. And, you know, she's probably the youngest. No, she definitely is the youngest guest I've had. And generally, I like to have lots of experience and, you know, and the expertise that come from that. Not that she's not an expert. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't, but she's definitely impressed me, and that's why she's here. She has a wonderful innovation that really blew me away. And I was like, wow, I don't care that you're the youngest person. You are going to be on my podcast, young lady. I said that respectfully, but I commanded her and she listened. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But let me tell you about Lily. Now, Lily Masco is a Franco-American clinical hypnotist and the founder of TranceFigure. That's spelled TranceFigure. She is based in New York City, like me, and is a recognized member of the International Association of Counselors and Therapists. By the way, I was also in that group. They're a great group, but you know, I went into a technological coaching, and I didn't need to be in that group anymore. Not that I wouldn't be, but you've got to really have, keep up your continuing education with a group like that, because they really have a high quality, a high standard. So that's a high standard group. So that says a lot right there. She is certified in integrative hypnosis and coaching the unconscious mind through the Center for Integrative Hypnosis by Melissa Tiers. By the way, so am I. So, we got a lot in common here. There's, I'm not saying incest, but we got a lot of in common. Now, Melissa Tiers, I don't know if she loves me or hates me. Probably hates me. I'm not sure. But either one, I'm very happy to get. I don't know. I mean, maybe she's.
I don't know either. I have no idea how she feels about it. So.
Probably forgotten me, and this is just my way to get attention. No, Melissa is awesome. She truly is. She possesses Lily, not Melissa, Lily.
She doesn't possess me. No one possesses me.
Right. Lily possesses an array of certifications in hypnotherapy, neuroplasticity, and weight management, along with a degree in communication minoring in psychology at Marist College. Lily's approach to hypnosis combines a primarily Ericksonian style with various cognitive and behavioral therapeutic modalities. This comprehensive model includes conversational trance work, neuroplasticity, and neurolinguistic programming. Lily Masco rewires the brain by dismantling and replacing habituated patterns of behavior or thought with new and improved ones. That's what I'm talking about. Lily teaches clients self-hypnosis so they're able to reap the benefits of this practice long after sessions have concluded. This knowledge can then be helpful in dealing with a plethora of other issues or desired changes. And she's here totally of her own accord as an independent, autonomous woman. Lily Masco, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, to be clear, for the record, I have not been hypnotized into coming here. I am here on own accord. No one has pressed me. I am free. So just making that disclaimer. Thank you for that introduction.
I don't apologize for making the suggestion, but it's kind of stuff that I do, actually. I know, and one of my favorite things to do, long before I became a NILPer or a coach, is double entendres. You know what's the only thing better than a double entendre is a triple entendre. Only thing better than a triple entendre is a quadruple entendre. I
Bring it
love
to infinity and call it a day. Infinity entendres.
Oh boy, man, if you could do that, you would be a god to me. I love language, and well, I'm a NILPer, and I don't know if you're certified in NLP, but certainly you have these certifications in hypnosis. Hypnosis and NLP have a huge overlap. NLP is not, NLP is not based in hypnosis, but there's so much that influences it, and it's just incredible. Now, when I worked as a life coach, I didn't use hypnosis. I sometimes used a light trance, put some people in a light trance when I thought I should have. But many of the guests I've had were hypnotists on this podcast, because hypnosis is just so remarkable, and it is so effective. I mean, some people don't find it effective, but many or even most do. And you're going to tell me about that, because you're the hypnotist, not me. First of all, let's talk about the thing that you do that really sets you apart, and which is really why you're here, because I mean, what you do is really wonderful. So so I want you to talk about it, but I'll set it first. How did you come up with the idea to host online hypnosis events?
Well, I was certainly influenced by the pandemic, of course. So at that point, any kind of socializing was done over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever other video chat that could be used. And so it had already become normalized at that point a little bit. And I, at that point, the pandemic had just lasted a lot longer than anyone had expected. And the holidays were starting to come up, and it was pretty sad. And Halloween was one of the first holidays to come up in fall. And I really love Halloween. So it was really sad for me to not be able to do anything. And so I was looking for something to do, not just for myself, but I was also hoping to cheer up some of the people in my life who were feeling similarly. And I had reached a point where I was starting to launch my business, TranceFigure. And so it just kind of came to me to do a hypnosis event that was in the spirit of Halloween, and to coincide that with TranceFigure's launch party, I suppose. And so it just worked out. And I honestly hadn't really thought that it would become a thing after that one event, but I had such great feedback from it, and people were asking when the next event was going to be.
Well,
And
let me interrupt you for a moment, Lily.
Sure.
Tell our viewers, what is it that you do? Tell about these events, because this is the thing. I'd rather you guys say it than me. But when I heard about it, I was like, "What? This is awesome!" So hit it, Lily.
So basically, I use existing hypnotic metaphors as inspiration, and kind of just get to what's at the bottom of them and what makes them so effective in change work. And pulling from those roots, I will then create my own twist or my own metaphor entirely to have it reflect a certain theme of an event that I'm hosting. So the first one, as I mentioned, was Halloween. So basically, just how can I create this in a through the lens of celebrating Halloween while still having all of the change work that is underlying in all of these existing hypnotic metaphors. So whether it's bringing up resources or just giving you that resourceful state to identify with, or whether it's seeing yourself having made a change in the future. There are so many different versions. So just seeing how I can make that thematic, and so that's been really fun for me. And I basically just make any event that comes to mind as something that's inspiring to me. So
Right. So you can make an event, and then through hypnosis, you can have the person or a group of people experience their event however they want to experience it. But you set the tone, you paint the picture, and then you let them fill in all the blanks and the spots. So you guide them. It's like a guided meditation, but it's much more experiential, right? Because you really allow them to do that.
And the difference with guided meditation also is that this has a very clear purpose at the end. So I do have people focus on a certain thing that they want to work on going into this, so that the change work is still very real underneath it all. So it should be enjoyable in the same way that a guided meditation would be, but it should have different effects coming out of it.
Now, when I first heard about this, I thought it was fantastic. But what I thought of was the movie Total Recall, which now I'm a lot older than you, so let me tell you about Total Recall. The original movie was great, kind of corny, a little kind of dated if you watch it. The remake was pretty good actually, but it's just nonetheless, it's about well, it's a spy, it's like a a thriller. But the premise is that's in the future, and you can go on a vacation in your mind without leaving your workaday life. So you go to a recall, and they put you in this device which puts these memories, false memories, into your brain, and you think that you went on vacation. Then there was much more intrigue, this whole good versus evil thing. I was like, wow, is Lily doing that? Can you put someone on a vacation that they've never been on? Can you do something like that?
I have, yes. So I'm a big fan of vacations and traveling. So I personally will do that often in my own personal self-hypnosis. But yes, I do bring people on vacations, either reconnecting with moments they've experienced in the past. So maybe that's a powerful moment with nature, or maybe even just allowing them to go somewhere that they've always dreamt of going. And maybe this year wasn't the year to go. So just allowing that kind of braincation in their mind. And that's certainly something that I keep in mind with the events that I create. And
think of listeners and viewers, think about how great that is. Now, if you don't have the time nor the money to go on vacation, you could contact Lily and go on a little, I don't want to call it mini vacation. It's like a pseudo vacation. Let me be frank, but a vacation nonetheless. You got to remember, you got to understand about the human mind. We as conscious people know the difference between make-believe and reality, but the mind does not. The mind does not. The brain does not. It doesn't know the difference. Okay, so if your brain thinks you went on vacation through hypnosis, or you actually went on vacation, guess what? You've been on vacation. All right.
And you'll know what you didn't actually travel. Your mind still has some idea of what's real and what's not, but you will still get the benefits of just whether it's relaxing or just whatever it is that you're trying to get out of this vacation, you can still get.
I mean, they'll tell you things a patient or a client, I should say, will tell you, Lily, I want these things in my vacation, and you would undoubtedly incorporate them. I want to go on vacation. I want to be a super spy, 007. Can you put me on a spy vacation, Lily?
Well, I usually don't even, usually I'll just be vague about it and let the person in their mind choose in that moment. So they don't even really need to tell me what they want to do. And usually vacation is just something that I'll include as part of an event, or that I'll sneak into a nice trance that is still relates to actual change work. But yeah, it's a fun little thing. And
now could you also guide them in an adventure that that's deliberate?
Yes, and it's interesting actually, because when I work one-on-one with clients, I'm actually very careful of not influencing their trances with specific descriptors or any personal associations of mine that I'm trying to project on them in any ways. So it's actually really fun for me to do these events, because I feel like I'm breaking the rules of hypnosis a bit, because I'm doing the exact opposite of that. I'm including very specific thematic descriptors and trying to paint this picture in their minds, while also leaving it vague enough that they can, for example, create their own favorite type of Halloween celebration. And so I'm not exactly telling them like, oh, why don't you go carve some pumpkins, or whatever it is they want to do. That's up to them. So I'm still influencing it in a way while also trying to stay as vague as possible. And that can be a bit tough to navigate sometimes, but I do have a very different approach in my private practice. So that's why it's a little fun for me to come up with these events and just do my own thing.
Now, just to back up for a moment. So you take someone on this hypnotic journey, right? For whether it's, where the purpose is fun or recreation, all right? But you also work in change work there as well?
Absolutely.
That
So
is awesome.
what's inspiring all of this is existing metaphors for change work. So sometimes I'll just do a little tweak to it to make it thematic. Sometimes I'll just create something from scratch. It really depends on what is what's inspiring me. So, and of course, I'm influenced by my events background as well in my work experience. So I do like to bring events to life. So in a way, I'm bringing those events into someone's brain instead. But yeah, it's just really fun to break those rules a little bit and to see how far I can push it. And
it's gotta be fun. It's fun for them, fun for you. It's awesome, man. It's win-win. Great stuff. Okay, let's take a quick moment to hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with Lily Masco.
This episode of Self-Help Coaching is brought to you by Petrozza. What if there was a self-improvement program truly personalized to you, that knew and cared for you deeply? That whatever was going on in your life adapted for you perpetually. Visit www.perfizio.io. That's PERFICIO.io, where you can start a program that will always suit you, considering all the pressures and nuances of your life.
Okay, you're listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast with Lily Masco, and she's telling us about what she does. And now I'm going to ask her if she can list examples of the event themes that she's already covered.
Right. So I already mentioned the first one, which was Halloween. Let me see if I can remember them all. So I did a Christmas Kwanzaa. I did a New Year's one. I did a Valentine's Day event, as well as a New Orleans themed Mardi Gras event, like a transparade ball or something like that.
So right there can be something a person hasn't done. If they've ever been to New Orleans or Mardi Gras, they can have experienced it in their own mind without ever having ever set foot in Louisiana.
Exactly. And I think it is a little more fun for people who can visualize it more vividly and who have been there. But for others who haven't, a lot of people have either seen it in Hollywood or some other version of it in photos. And so I do try to prime them a little bit in that situation, right, where what I do is include different types of photos and things like that when I'm promoting the event or when I'm sending the email out with the Zoom link and all that, so that they can still have some readily accessible visuals to things that I might be referring to in the event, so that when I include certain descriptors, those images do come to mind quite easily, and they're not just there trying to figure out what it is I'm trying to insert into their minds. So that's fun. And then that was probably the event that was the trickiest in that regard, because it was a little bit like traveling to a very specific place, whereas the other ones were a little bit more vague. And I also did an Earth Day event, and just recently, which you attended, was my Trust Fall event, which was basically to just say a proper goodbye to summer and a welcoming to fall.
I found it a little too pagan. I'm only kidding. I love paganism, frankly. What was that? Sorry.
That's a compliment to me.
I love paganism. I mean, paganism is great. I'm a tree hugger. I love nature. Nature is divine. If you don't understand that, you don't understand nature. So that was a great event, great experience. Well done. That was very cool.
More nature oriented, as well as Earth Day, for example, versus some of the other ones. So they're all going to have some different elements that are brought in, and they're going to look a little different from one another.
would you ever consider taking someone on a vacation, on, you know, a hypnotic vacation, like say, and you have the whole thing, do the whole thing, like from going to the airport, and then having them on a plane, and then having the plane lose control and make it look like it was going to crash, but then not crash. All right. And then, you know, and really like surprise them and get their heart racing.
That sounds terrible. And I
Not to
absolutely
me.
would never do that. In fact, if I were to bring them on any kind of braincation, I think one of the best parts of doing it in your mind is being able to skip all the actual traveling part and just get there. So that is the exact part I would not include in any hypnotic vacations. So I don't know that I'll be consulting you in any events I'm trying to win.
You'll be consulting. You'll be consulting. Okay, very good. So tell us a bit more about what to expect from your hypnosis events, you know, in the future, you know, or even walk us through an event.
Sure. So again, they all have a little bit of a different vibe, but usually it's just will walk them through a hypnotic induction. So that's going to change every time as to what induction I use. And then I might include a bit of a hypnotic deepener just to help anyone who might not be as comfortable going into hypnosis as easily. So I do have a range of people who attend my events. Some are already professional hypnotists and can go into trance extremely easily. Some people are experiencing hypnosis for the first time. So it's a nice range of people. So I will do my best to keep that into consideration and help them all reach a nice depth of trance. And then afterwards, I just walk them through a series of different hypnotic metaphors that are in tune with the theme of the event. So it's usually at the very least 3 different ones, sometimes 5. It depends on how long they are. It depends on how inspired I am by the event and how many different ideas I'm trying to squeeze in. Usually the events are roughly half an hour. I started with an hour, and I feel like some people have a harder time staying still in trance for that long. So I've cut down the events a little bit just to make sure that everyone's comfortable with the amount of time that they're in that. And some people choose to keep their videos on. Some people take them off so they can just, you know, if anything, just fall asleep in bed. I've certainly had a couple of people fall asleep here and there just from being so deep in trance and so relaxed that they just decided to turn it into a nap. But
I'm not that I'm caught up on this, but to me, it's interesting. Do you ever surprise people in your hypnosis, or is everything is sort of matter of fact?
What do you mean by surprise?
Well, yeah,
like, scare them out of it? Like,
well, not necessarily scare, but you know, I mean, of course, hypnosis is a very relaxing experience, right? And I think that's the essence of hypnosis, is getting someone really relaxed so that they can accept things more readily, if I'm not mistaken. Do you agree with that?
I think that the definition of hypnosis is a little vague. And so because we're in and out of hypnosis throughout the day, I think that not all states of hypnosis necessarily have to be linked with relaxation. But I think that when you do a formal trance and a formal hypnotic induction and do it the more traditional way, that relaxation is generally a massive part of that. Absolutely.
But you're not discounting surprising people, though, right?
I'm still trying to understand what you mean.
I like surprises. That's all I'm saying. Surprises are fun. Good surprises.
I mean, really everything's a surprise, right? Because these people don't know what they're actually getting themselves into, right? So, I mean that in the best possible way. But yeah, they don't really know what to expect. So the whole thing is going to be a surprise. And I might hint to it in the preparation of the event, just to make sure that everyone's comfortable with where we're going. But yeah, it's everything about it is a surprise. And I also don't know what's popping up in people's minds. So it's a surprise to me as well. And it's always fun for me to hear after the events what people experienced, what they visualized. And I'm always surprised by their answers as well. So I mean, the whole thing is based off of surprise as to whether I actually will, go like surprise or anything like that. Not exactly. I try to leave them in their trances, even though sometimes it's hard not to make little jokes and that'll maybe bring someone out of a trance. So I've been trying to not do as
Right.
many.
I mean, that's why I would be a rotten hypnotist, because I couldn't resist the jokes. And nobody.
In hypnosis, so I don't mind it too much. But.
Very good. Okay, let's take another quick break to hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with Lily Masco.
This episode of Self-Help Coaching is brought to you by Proficio. What are the secrets to wealth? Benjamin Franklin taught them, but people are ignorant or just forget. What if you make sure neither afflicts you? Visit www.proficio.io. That's PERFICIO.io, where you can actually become certain you are on your way to wealth.
You're listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast with me, your host, Tony Petrozza. I'm with my wonderful guest, Lily Masco. She's talking about her really cool online hypnosis events and being surprised or not being surprised, etc. Now I'll ask my next question. Now, Lily, is there any way to experience or access any of these events if you can't attend an event in real time?
Absolutely. So it's always great to attend it in real time, of course, to be part of the full experience. But I always, for each event, offer private groups. So if the time that I offer doesn't work, then they can just reach out to me and either do that event as a one-on-one session or get a small group together, friends or family or colleagues, and I'll do that privately with them, so that can be arranged. I am also currently working on turning these into recordings that then can be sold so that people can listen to them at any time of the year, even if it's meant to be for Halloween. So it's never a bad time to experience a little holiday cheer.
Now, I love you. I mean, you work with clients one-on-one, but you really most of what you've been describing has been a group event, right? Group coaching.
Yes.
Right?
So events are for groups generally, but again, I have done them one-on-one and in small private groups as well.
Now, when I created Proficio, the virtual coach, it's self-help coaching, more precisely. But anyway, self-help coaching. But I also saw that it was necessary to have a group element involved, because there are dynamics, and we are in the group that you're not going to get, with just the self. And so we have a group interactive space for people to get into that social dynamics, and there are a number at play. Now, when you tap, are there dynamics of the collective or the social elements that are at play with these group sessions versus just a one-on-one session with you?
Absolutely, because what actually originated what basically was at the root of all this was just wanting to have a Halloween party in a way. So
you can't have a party by yourself unless you're into drugs, maybe. You need a couple of people.
Always have a party, no matter who's around or if no one's around. But I think it's a little more fun if there's a group, and so it has more of a feel of just a fun event to do. And sure, it has all these mental health benefits, but that's not even what I'm necessarily highlighting for these events. It's really just for a fun thing to do and a nice way to relax, and in these times to stay safe, So yeah, I definitely would encourage people to try and make the actual events, because it has that whole feel, and I get a little into it. So I'll maybe dress up or encourage others to, and it just contributes to the overall experience. So I definitely recommend trying to do it in the way that it's meant to be done, which is in a larger group.
Like I said earlier, when I first was intrigued, when I was intrigued by you was that the innovation of this, and that, to me, that's so important, for things to be innovative or even better, revolutionary. What I do with Proficio is revolutionary. I'm not sure if what you do is revolutionary or not, because I think you may be piggybacking, but certainly very innovative.
Of course, being influenced by all sorts of other hypnotists and practitioners. So I certainly can't take all the credit for this.
But it's all building and all accumulating. You're standing on shoulders, of giants. But I really, and this, you're the expert, and this is your field. But I really see that you're just the way I see it now, and I have some experience, is that you're going to really go much further with this. I see you doing like vacations and where people have an itinerary, no matter how outlandish may be, but it'll be subjective, where you're going to be able to accommodate them. And then work and change work too, so they can come out, as a better person, or a person that with less issues, at least. Right. Right. Because I the way I see it is, why not? Why wouldn't you? Because seems to me, I would want to pay money for something like that. I'm like, oh, where do I sign up? I mean, what you do is already very cool, but that I think I see that as like, 2.0 or 3.0. What do you think about that? Am I still on crack?
No, well, I can't answer whether you're still on crack or not. That's gonna have to come from you. But absolutely. I mean, I definitely want to expand on these events and really just go about it in whatever finds me and just inspires me. But yeah, hypnotic vacations and events, all that stuff are things that I would like to do in person, and maybe collaborate with other types of practitioners and really take it to another level. I mean, it's right now I'm really mostly focusing on online because of the pandemic, and also because my clientele is very international. So I do have people that attend these events from all over. So it's nice to be able to give access to everyone. But I absolutely would love to continue doing that. And I already incorporate these into my own one-on-one sessions with people. I'll sometimes do, not just vacations, but like time traveling experiences, or different types of dance celebrations throughout time and space. And so I definitely play around with that a lot already. But yeah, it could be fun to do some more itinerary based, but I like the idea of guiding it in a way where the person can choose their own specific destination, and I just facilitate that. So almost like a mystery destination or something. But absolutely, you're definitely predicting what's been on my mind a little already.
Well, very good, very good. I'm in your mind. So, but even no matter how innovative you go, already this innovation, this basic innovation of digital technology, which is incredible. I'm in on it, you're in on it, and we're really in this. We're in this field, and we're both in our of change work, and and coaching and hypnosis. That's based on not based on digital technology, but we certainly, because we don't need. I mean, well, I was a life coach, and that was that was no digital technology. Now I'm all about, my company is my technical director, he says that my company, he says we're a technological company. I'm like, no, we're not, because I don't know crap about technology. I'm a coach. So I created a revolutionary coaching program, and now it's we're going to launch soon. It's been one delay after another, but certainly it's revolutionary, but it's because of digital technology we're able to do it. You take a person through now, this experience using digital technology, and it was all inevitable. Of course, we got the pandemic, which you just mentioned, which just expedited it. For me, it's really irrelevant to the success of my business. But what about you? Do you think it's going to, you'll do better in terms of with revenues and more clients because of the pandemic, or do you think it's all matter of fact, it doesn't matter to you as a business person?
I think that some people do prefer doing sessions in person, but I think that there's actually something really great about doing it online. And of course, there are going to be pros and cons to both, but I have a bit of a preference online, because I think that For one, a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis and can find it a little intimidating. So I think being in the safety of their own space already just allows them to let their guard down a little bit. Also, I think that creating change work in the environment that you're going to need that change work to occur in is preferable to doing it in a different environment where it's like, oh, I can relax very easily in your office that has, you know, the nice lighting and the comfortable chair and is away from everything. But then whenever I try to go home and do it myself, I just have a harder time. So I think that if I'm already creating those experiences for them in their own space, then it's a little easier to evaluate the change work when it continues in their space. And of course, there's going to be issues sometimes with if the internet connection's bad or whatever. But I do like the fact that it's online. I think, again, that it opens up my clientele internationally. So I'm not just limited to wherever I'm located and can help people all over. And it also allows me to be able to travel. So I'm not going to be upset about that. I really actually enjoy doing this online, and ultimately throughout a good portion of my sessions, people have their eyes closed and are just in any comfortable place that they are. So it doesn't really matter where they are, whether they're in my office or somewhere else, because their eyes are closed and they're really just in their imagination. So yeah, and that's actually going back to your question before about whether it's better to attend the group event or the private event. Ultimately, it is a private experience, whether you're attending it as one of many people in the group or on your own. At the end of the day, you're just going to have your eyes closed for most of it and maybe your camera on or off, but it's going to be such a personal experience that it's not that influenced by the presence of other people. So.
Fantastic. All right, let's take our final break, final commercial break, and we'll come back with the last segment with Lily.
This episode of Self-Help Coaching is brought to you by Proficio. Do you like learning by yourself or with others? What if you could do both at the same time? Visit www.proficio.io. That's proficio.io, where you can learn in the environment that suits you as you choose.
You're listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast with me, your host, Tony Petrozza. I'm with Lily Masco. She's wowing me with what she does, which is online hypnosis events she really can be done for just about anything, but right now she's just having parties. No, I'm kidding. What I was kind of is there's her events. She does events. She does special occasions, and it's awesome, fantastic stuff. Now, do you plan on keeping these events exclusively online in the future?
In the future, I definitely would like to do a combination. So I already mentioned the pros of doing it online and allowing people access and making it easier for people to attend. But it does sound very fun for me to also expand on that. And I think that if I were to do it in person, I'd also want to incorporate other elements and see who I can collaborate to bring it to another level and make it more of a generalized experience. And so whether it's just going to be focused on hypnosis or not, I'm not quite sure, but I love the idea of expanding it in person eventually once that makes more sense in the world that we're living in.
Well, I think it's great. It's another great modality of self-development, personal development, and fun, and you're incorporating both. I mean, it's win-win. It's totally, I love it. I mean, you're doing great work. I really appreciate what you're doing. And here's my final question to you. Are there any events you're currently planning?
Yes, actually. So it is coming to be the 1-year anniversary of TranceFigure's launch party, so the Halloween party. So I'm going to be doing another Halloween event and hopefully make it a yearly thing. So it's interesting for me to figure out how to pay homage to the first event while also keeping things fresh and new, because it's the first time that I'm now starting to repeat the events a little bit. So It's a new challenge, but it's very exciting. I have a few different ideas in mind that I'm toying around with. So
now, is there any truth to the rumor that someone was literally scared to death at last year's event?
ha ha ha.
Okay, I'm kidding, listener view. I joke. Everybody's fine. Nobody was afraid. Nobody was even afraid a little bit, right?
No one was afraid. No one had any traumatic experiences. No one had to deal with any,
That's great.
No, a very difficult advantage was to how to theme something that's not scary, but has all the fun mystery that Halloween provides. So that was very tricky for me, and I pride myself on not having scared anyone to death. So let's put an end to those rumors.
Those ugly rumors. I don't know where they came from. Ugly.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Great stuff, Lily. You've been a fantastic guest. I want to read a quote to you. This someone, a very intelligent person of great wisdom, once said, quote, "Diving into hypnosis was the game changer I needed to finally gain control of my physical and mental health," end quote. Very great person said that. And you know who that and you know who that person was? That person was you. You said that.
I said that?
Yeah. And I love that quote. That's great. I got that, this is hypnosis was how I believe what I'm doing with Proficio and creating self-help coaching, true self-help coaching, is my fate, my purpose, my destiny. And I got back in, and getting, before this, I was a life coach, and even though I got into NLP in the 90s, I didn't get certified until about 6-7 years ago. And coaching, almost all professional coaches are NLP practitioners these days because it's so freaking effective in coaching. There may be so much hype about it elsewhere, but in coaching, it really works. And so it really changed my life. And I believe I'm going to change the world with Proficio because I'm going to transform self-help and based on the things that I did. I'm doing. And what got me back into it? Self-hypnosis. I was learning NLP in the 90s from this guy informally. I was doing services for him and a barter, and he was training me. But then, that lasted for a while. But he sent me some courses, Nightingale Conan courses in the mail. And one of them was a self-hypnosis course I had for years. And then I started smoking cigarettes again after like 8 years without one. I'm like, let me do this thing. And it worked like gangbusters. But for me, it worked awesomely. But the guy, I did it with a friend. For him, it did not work. But for me, I was like blown away on how effective it was. It worked on such a deep level that I was like, wow, I'm literally the most I've ever been a non-smoker. To use that term, I didn't actually use that term. Because the brain doesn't understand negation. I don't say non-smoker. I mean, I say myself a free person, a spiritual person, because those kinds of people don't smoke in terms of identity. But it was extremely effective. And that brought me back, that piqued my interest back into NLP. And I just told you everything that happened. So self-hypnosis was the doorway for me. And you just quote self-hypnosis. You talk about how you teach your clients self-hypnosis. So they learn in the session with you, and then you give them tools to carry away with. What have you got to say about this, woman?
Well, actually, I think that most of what I do in my events can also be self-hypnosis. So if, it can sometimes be a little difficult to remember what you just experienced when you come out of trance. Some people will try to relay their experience to me and be like, I actually don't even remember that part. But if they do, and sometimes I'll recap it at the end just as a reminder, most of what I do in my events can be then done as self-hypnosis. If the people, if whoever's attended wants to, they can then continue doing that over and over again in their minds. And they can maybe choose to make it a little bit less thematic than the event was. And it's going to be a little bit different than having me guide them through it, but they can certainly do that on their own time and continue any change work that they want to work on. And it doesn't have to be the same thing that they brought up during the event. It can be something entirely different. But usually what these metaphors do is help with all types of change work. So it really can be some great tools to refer to in the future as needed. And that's something that in my one-on-one sessions, I absolutely emphasize the importance of, and of just continuing that practice on your own outside of sessions. And
reinforce. I think reinforcement really sometimes can make all the difference, because you just need
absolutely is key. So just continuing that self-hypnosis is so important. And that's one of the things that I do keep in mind with these events, is I try to create techniques that are pretty easy to then do on your own.
Great stuff, Lily. So we're at the end. Would you like to have a final remark, or tell my audience how much you hate them, or anything like that?
I certainly have no intentions of telling your audience how much I hate them. But I can certainly offer a 20% discount to them.
So maybe you like them after all.
Maybe I'll like them after all. Maybe they'll even like me. Who knows?
That is very wonderful and generous of you. I really appreciate that. That's great. And I suggest, I don't usually like to do pitching, but that the you viewer or listener take advantage, because this is innovative. It's so convenient, and you can have a vacation without leaving your living room. So it's fantastic. Or Halloween party, which is the next event. Great stuff, Lily. Keep doing what you're doing. How does a person contact you or read about you, or your social media? Tell us about that.
So they could just go to my website, which is trance, so TRANCE -figure FIGURE.com. And then once you're on the website, there's all different areas where it says contact me. So to just reach out to me and let me know that they heard about the discount through this podcast. Or
just mention coupon word Tony to get you 20% discount. All right.
Exactly. And go ahead and start with a consultation and make sure it's the right fit before moving on with one-on-one sessions. Otherwise, if they're interested in an event, they can just let me know that as well.
Great. So you can find her on Facebook. You can find her on LinkedIn, TranceFigure without the hyphen. Also Facebook, TranceFigure without the hyphen. And on Instagram, TranceFigure with an underscore between trance and figure. Or you can just go to the website. You'll find it. Look for it. You'll find it. Lily, you've been fantastic. I really appreciate you. Great stuff. And you want to say goodbye?
Yes. Goodbye, everyone.
Lovely. Goodbye.
So much, Tony, for having me. I really appreciate it, and appreciate you taking the time to talk and find out all these things about my events, as well as attending one. So thank you for that. And
you're quite welcome, and you've been a great guest. I really appreciate it. And remember, everyone, every one of us is responsible for ourselves, and we can all use some help. And with that, thank you, Lily. Thank you, viewers and listeners, for being here. See you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast, where insights, attitudes, and methods for success get illuminated. Learn what leaders and change workers have done and are doing now to create magnificent futures. Remember to visit our website at self-helpcoaching.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Self-Help Coaching Podcast.